But what do you think the greatest threat is to the church in our generation?
It's pastors. Honestly. The pastors. Anywhere, God has given 3 offices, I believe, to the church. Evangelist, pastor, and teacher. Wherever you see a weak church, you see these weak men. Either they're non-existent, they're unbiblical, or they're unconverted. And all this talk about the judgment on our country because of its immoralities and everything else, never forget, judgment always begins with the household of God. And I am astounded at the lack of the fear of the Lord and the lack of biblical knowledge among those who would call themselves the ministers of Christ. And I mean, the atrocities that have happened in America in evangelicalism, just in the pulpit itself, the tomfoolery, the lack of reverence. If you have a church that's not a praying church, it's because you have non-praying elders. The church is not biblical, it's because you have non-biblical elders. It always goes back to, so when I look at the nation, I'm not blaming some party or professors or this or that. I'm looking at myself as a minister of Christ. And that's a very solemn, that's why someone shouldn't enter into the ministry very lightly. And you know, we could say all kinds of other things, but it all does come back to that. We could say liberalism, which is true. We could say even a greater, more dangerous thing that's a secret, hidden liberalism is when men affirm that the Bible is inerrant, but their whole ministry is nothing but pragmatism. All you young men need to understand something. All this talk about Reformation the last 15 years, the reformers didn't want to be reformers. They just wanted to be biblical, number one. Number two, you're not reformed simply because you've adopted an academic view of some sort of sovereign grace soteriology. You're following in the spirit of the reformers because you're trying to take every aspect of your thought, your doctrine, your disposition, your life, your family, your church, and submitting it to what is written. And so those are some of the things.